Hello guys and welcome to the new video of a Python and API development course. In this video, we will be discussing authentication using username and password in FastAPI. So, as we already know that we have learned how to use get and post request, how to develop endpoints for get and post request for our API. But we don't want our API to be used by anyone, right? That anyone can come and use it. We need a proper authentication system to authenticate that the user we want to uh, use our API should use it. So for that, what the way we are going to discuss is we are going to discuss the username and password way. So this is a security method for your API, that your API should remain secure. It should not be used by uh, anyone. It should be used by particular people or particular user that you want to make your API accessible to. So we will just go to the documentation of FastAPI and we will find here security, and in this we will go for security, right? If I come here, I'll get a particular code and we'll just copy this and I'll get you through it that what it is doing. So first it needs to import typing module and it is using annotated class from it. I'll tell you that what this annotated is, and let's just even remove this. We don't even need this annotated for us. We will be using a different way. What we need is we need depends. So we will use depends here, not annotated, and then I need this from FastAPI.security module. I need OAuth to password bearer. What are these? I'll tell you. I'll get you through it. Also, one more thing I will be needing is that would be OAuth, the password request form. Okay. Now what I can say is I want a scheme for my particular password system. So I will implement this here. Now my token URL is token. So I'll define a endpoint for token generation. So what am I doing is if someone logs in using username and password and the login is successful, our API should provide a token. That token can be used to access other endpoints, right? So I'll write app dot. So because I'm providing with username and password, it is a post request. Why? Because I'm not taking it in a query parameter or header. I will be taking it as a form data. So form data will okay. So here I'll write the path that would be slash token. Why? Because I have defined here the token URL should be token. So it will always be whenever it wants to verify the password and the username, it will go to this URL which is token. So I am defining here that what should happen in this URL. So a post request should be there, and let's define the function, async function. So async def, let's name the function token generator, and I need a form data here. Form data is my variable, and what type of form data it should be. So I'll type it OAuth password to request form. Why? Because it already has the functioning on how to implement it. Okay. Now what I can do is I can say I can first generate my user. So let's define a dictionary for our users. So let's see that who will be our user. So I'm defining a dictionary such that username with password. Okay. So I'll say let's just create a user whose username is Costo and password is, let's say, 1234 at the rate. Okay. And let's define another user that would be Pandey, and let's define 789 at the rate as the password of this. Okay. Now what I can do is I have my dictionary which has username and password in it. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll get username and password here. Okay. So if I see here in this OAuth password request form, I am getting username and password in this form. Okay. And I'm also getting client ID and client secret, but these are optional data, so we will not look into it. I want username and password out of it. So what I will do if I want to check that my username and password are correct, what I can do is I can say if users. So I'll check if the username I have has the value or the password from the users dictionary, right? So from form data, I need username. Okay. So this will get me the password. Users from users dictionary get the value for this username. Okay. And if it is equal to the password that I get, so that would be form data dot password, right? We saw here dot password, right? So yeah. Now what I say is if they are equal, that means that the generation was successful. So I need to return two things here. First thing will be access token. Access token, and that will be, let's just say we need to define our token. So let's just say 9AI. Okay. And I need to define the type of the token. So token type. Token type. I want to give the token type also because these things are needed whenever you build a project. These things are needed by the front end to justify that what type of the token is. Okay. And what is the access token so that they can use for further authorization of the endpoints. So if I need to give the type, so my type is bearer. You can see here I have used OAuth2 password and I have used the bearer. Okay, so I'll just give the token type as bearer. Bearer. Okay, now what I can do is, what if it's not? If it's not correct, then I need to raise an error. So I will raise HTTP exception. Okay, so I need to first import HTTP exception. HTTP exception. And I can write here HTTP exception. I need to write the status code. I'll give 402 as the status code. And let's say if the username is wrong, then this will give an error because I don't have that username in my dictionary. So what I can do is I can implement a try and catch statement so that my server doesn't show because of this. So if it's try, if it does not get the correct matching key for the dictionary or correct matching username, if it does not matches the password, then it will raise the HTTP exception 402. Okay. But what if the username is wrong? So it will catch the oh my bad, accept. So it will catch the error, and what it will raise is it will raise HTTP exception 404. 404 is for not found. So it doesn't found the user, so it will raise 404. Okay. Now this is done. So we have taken, we have made the flow to verify our password and username. Now what I can do is how to use this. So what if, let's say, what if this is a particular endpoint and I want it that if a user is validated, then only he or she can access this endpoint, else cannot access this endpoint. So what I can write here is I can write here token. So I can provide here with a particular token here, that if this token is correct, then only go for it. Okay, so token and is a string, and I can say depends on OAuth 2 scheme. Okay. Now you might be thinking that what am I doing, but when I will show you that what just happened, you will be amazed to see it. Okay, so now one more thing I want to do is what, that I want to make it a dependency. So I'll add a depends here. Now what am I doing is, let me just first walk you through what I have done, and then we will see that how it's working. So first I imported two classes from FastAPI.security module. Now what they have done is, first is OAuth to password bearer, and second is OAuth to password request form. Okay. And one I have imported depends from FastAPI. Now what all these are doing? First thing first, what I have done is I have made a dictionary of users that have username and their respective password here, so that I can check for login and sign up. Okay. Then what I have done here, first thing I have done is I have defined a scheme here. So I have defined OAuth2 scheme. Why? Because I am using OAuth2 password. So that is authentication password type, and I am using OAuth2 password. So I have written the variable name as OAuth2 scheme. You can change the variable name that you know already. Okay, as per your convenience. Then what I have done here is OAuth2 password bearer, the class I have used, and I have provided it with a token URL, and that is token. So what will happen is, whenever a password needs to be verified using this scheme, it will send the username and password to this particular URL, that is slash token. Okay. So now I have to catch this request. So I have defined a post request for this slash token URL. Now what it will do is, this particular post request is taking form data. And what is the form? Because my scheme is OAuth2 password bearer, I have used OAuth2 password request form. And why I have added a depends here? So as we were adding headers, right? That's how we have added depends here. So depends, what it does, it particular means that without this request form, this particular endpoint should not work. Okay, without this, so this working of this particular function depends on this form data variable or argument. So without, if this form data is not valid, then this particular function should not work. That's what depends does. Okay. So what I have done here is, I have so I have, if I got the form data successfully, then what I have done is, I have taken the username out of the form data, and I have verified the username with the password that I have in my local DB. Okay, database. This is my database, a small database which has data of username and password. So I have verified that if the password in my database is same as the password that I got, then what I can return is first the access token and then the token type, which would be bearer. Okay, and if I don't get, I have raised a HTTP exception 402. But what if someone writes a username which is not in my database? So if I don't use a try except, it will give an error that key not found. Okay, in the users. So I will catch this exception, and what I am raising is 404. 404, you all know that this is a standard HTTP error for not found. Okay. Now what I have done is, I have to verify the working of this, I have added a new, this in this new endpoint. I want that if a particular person is verified using this token generation, then only he or she should access this particular endpoint. Okay, so I have added a token here. So let's return this is new path as well as the token. What is the value of the token, which is 9a, right? We already know. So let's just return that also, that what is the token. Okay, and we will return this here, and I'll save this. Now I will go to my browser. I'll write localhost 8000, and okay, my server is working. I'll go to the documentation and I'll see something different here, which will be this authorize button. And if I see now this new pass, all the other endpoint you can see here, you are getting only a copy to clipboard button. But if you go to this new password where we have added that token, it is showing a lock sign. That means that this will only work if I authorize myself. So if I authorize myself, I'll go here. It will ask for username and password. So let's just add the username costume, and the password that I have added is 1234 at the rate. Okay. Now I will say authorize me. So it has authorized me, right? Username and password, and it has provided client credentials on itself because it was basically not required. Okay. So I'll close this. Now I'll go to this new endpoint and I'll try to execute it. And if you see I've executed, so this is a new path and it has returned the token as 9A. That's what we returned. Okay. Or that's what the token we were generating. Okay. Now if I try to log out and if I add costume, but I change the password to anything else, but not the correct password, it give me an error not found. Okay. And if I just change the username to something that is not there and I try to authorize it, it again said not found. Okay, so it is giving me authentication error. Auth error is authentication error because I can't authenticate myself. But if I add Pandey here and if I add 789 at the rate and authorize, then you can see that I am authorized and I can use this endpoint. If I execute this, I can use this. One more thing you can do here is before, if you know the token already, what you can do, like let's just use this token in some other, like let's say I want to calculate my interest and I should need here the token, right? I also need a token in this also, in this endpoint also. What I can do is, if my token, if like I want to only make this work for particular user, like for costume only, I need to, if costume is calculating interest, then only calculate the interest, else don't calculate. So if token is equals to 9AI, okay, then it will work. Okay, else what it will do is, else what it will do is, it will return cannot access. Okay, so now what I'll do is, I'll go here where am I, where when I'm login and I'm saying that, okay, now let's say the form is validated. I'm saying if form data dot user name, if it is equals to cost to, then return this. Okay, and for anybody else, what you need to return, you return different access token. Okay, you return different access token, which is, let's say, whatever token, let's say the boys. Okay, so I'll save this, go to my Swagger UI, I'll refresh this, and now what I can do is I'll log in with Costco. I'll type my password 1234 at the rate. I'll authorize myself. I'll close this. I'll go to this new endpoint. I'll try it out. I'll execute this. See, I'm getting a token 9AI. Then I'll go to this calculate interest. You can see a log sign here. That means I'm authenticated right now. Now I'll try it out. My name is Pandey Kaustup. My age is 20. My principal amount is 1000. My duration is 2 years, and my bank is, let's say, SBI. Okay. Now if I execute this, It has generated total this and interest is this. Now what I can do is I can go here, I can log out and I can just log in with Pandey, okay, and I'll say 789 at the rate, authorize this. I'm authorized. I'll close. I'll execute this endpoint to see what is the voice is the token. Now this is not the token that we have already given. Now we'll give the same value to now different user which is Pandey, and if I execute this, you can see it said cannot access. So this is how you implement authorization in your Fast API so that you can basically limit the users that can access your endpoints. I hope you guys understood.